The enthusiasm shown at Acetech was one of a kind, and furthermore, it continued for parallel events like the World of Fenestration and the Global Green Summit. World of Fenestration, supported by the International Fenestration Forum, was a conclave designed to unite the architects, fabricators, developers, policy makers and related stakeholders who play an important role in the facade and fenestration industry. The facade and fenestration industry in India is emerging rapidly, with the need for sustainability, comfort and aesthetics continuing to drive innovation in the windows, doors and facade construction sector.
The facade and fenestration industry in India is emerging rapidly, and the need for sustainability, comfort and aesthetics continues to drive innovation in the windows, doors and facade construction. World of Fenestration, supported by International Fenestration Forum, is a niche conclave designed to unite the architects, fabricators, developers, policymakers, facade consultants, engineers, procurement managers and stakeholders from the Indian industry and beyond to drive discussions on how aesthetics and design trends can be harmonized with energy-efficient building technologies. Acetech brings to you a high-caliber platform to ideate, network and forge a momentum for the future of the fenestration industry in India. Once again, a warm welcome to all our colleagues in the industry who share our common interest. Thank you.
Namaskar. I must share with you my delight to know that ET Acetech in the 10th year has moved out from interior of the building to outside the building. I belong to the Indian Green Building Council and I'd like to share with you what we are doing for developing the facade awareness and the amazing work that has been done worldwide in the facade technology. For us, the window was a chaukhut and a glass, and very limited use of it just to encourage the daylight to come in. You know, India is still by and large, thanks to architects like Kamal and many of the architects in the hall here, you have still passionately followed what India needs, what I say Bharat needs. We are very fortunate to have abundant of sunlight, and science has eventually discovered that the Shakti Punj, that all our energy really ultimately comes from the sun. We have abundant of sun. Any part of India get more than 300 days of sunshine. You must remember, if you are in London or in Geneva or Manhattan or Chicago, there are limited days of sunshine and you must coax the sunlight to come in all through the year. We get abundant of it. So it's very, very, very essential that in our design, in our construction, we respect the availability of that abundant sunlight and bring only the light but not the heat. Now you may say, which is true, 20, 30 years ago it was not known. How can I bring only the daylight but not the heat of the sun? Well, the fenestration now have matured to the point that we are able to do precisely that. Thank you. All the best in your conference throughout the day.
It's a plot, 500 square meters, 600 square
The
meters.
interactive platform kicked off with the inaugural and keynote addresses, followed by speakers who gave insights on the technological issues and innovations critical to the facade and fenestration industry.
For me, it's a very, very important aspect of any structure, any building, residential to commercial to whatever. More importantly, a skin, like the human skin, should be capable of adapting, of breathing, because you know what the skin does? It can deal with heat, it can deal with cold. Do you know that 80% of your breathing is taking place through this and not through this? So, it is the endeavor of all creative people and technocrats today to try and simulate the human skin in structures. So that is the goal.
Common day technology, construction.
Speaker sessions continued with focus on technology in fenestration and facades and developing tech to allow buildings to control thermal exposure.
Polymorphic leaves, which are essentially silver coated elastomers, and they behave like human skin. When exposed to light, the current generated within the skin itself allows it to deform, and when it's deformed, it blooms out and covers the facade or covers the cavity, limiting the amount of solar exposure into the building. I think as a format, as a structure, it's fairly similar to the ones we have internationally. It's about discussions where people try and exchange thoughts with each other. There's expert presentations, and I think one thing that's really nice is it has a very elaborate setup where products, contractors, and people who have facade systems to offer can really bring those along, so people can have a very touch and feel relationship with those things here.
I'm going to ask each one of them for a really quick brief on what they think globalization is. Just really, really brief.
It was time for industry heavyweights to discuss the impact of globalization.
It means that you put in all the international knowledge that you have put together and put it into a very specific local environment to get out something which speaks for the knowledge that exists. I think that's how it is.
So you're saying global knowledge put together in the local environment.
Right.
Gautam?
I think it's got multi-facets to it. It's about how we design things can be local. And one of the examples that was up there where you take local inspiration and try and incorporate that into a modern version, and then how we construct things as well. And I think that changes from country to country. Different construction methodologies, construction culture per se. So I think there is two different distinct facets to it.
The way I look at it, it is something that actually starts locally. It's not necessarily something that gets adopted or adapted into a local environment. So, I mean, lots of times one, in fact, sees that as, it's, to give a very crude example, 100 years ago when the British were still here, you had their architecture, for example, which was being sort of pasted onto Indian, Indian situations.
We as Indians leapfrog into doing the best, wanting the best, creating the best, can create the best, but somehow there has to be a local support by the developer, primarily the developer, not so much the architect, because he has to spend the money.
Fair enough. Amar?
We need to have the global partners, we need to have the global technology, but we have to look at the ways that how we can implement it in India.
I think a little bit of what all of you think, but essentially, if one was to think that if you put aside technology, okay, let's presume globally the technology was the same everywhere. What would then matter is, in my opinion, how you would think in your current environment, how you would be required to think holistically. So I think, to me, globalization is essentially that, because you can draw inspiration from anything. Nature being, of course, unparalleled where we can draw inspiration from. But to take those ideas, and those ideas happen in our backyard, they happen right in front of you, you observe things all the time, and then you implement them in a manner which is sustainable to your current local environment. So in the evolution of things, in our local environment, and if we talk about fenestrations and facades in a local, global manner, what are we seeing over here in this country? I mean, what are the factors that affect facades in this country?
You see any European building, any American building, very rarely you see the building which is 300 meter plus tall, and then it has got the balconies, it has got the decks, people can come out, people can stand over there. Very, very limited examples of this were available. Secondly, most of these super tall buildings, you will see those are the commercial buildings where the user pattern in that building is very limited. It's generally the, the office crowd which use, but where we go to the residential building, the pattern of the user, it's changes from the kids to the senior people in the house, otherwise, or even the maids. So it has to be friendly for all these people to use, plus it has to be safe, plus all the factors with the wind, with the lateral forces, all those have to be taken care while building all those things. So it's not just the single skin facade, it's a two-layered facade which we have to take care when we do the residential buildings in this tropical environment.
When we come in as design partners and we are talking about a particular project in a location, say for example Mumbai, you have to understand the facades from a very local context. The guys who had designed the facade is taking care of a temperature range, might be from -20 degrees to +35 degrees. However, Here in Mumbai, the temperature never goes below 10 degrees, for example. So does that facade needs to tweak itself to suit this kind of an environment, which is what you can call localization of that facade?
In the old days, I mean, you're looking at the way Indian families lived, and especially when they're residential projects. In the old days, the fenestration of the building was the external skin, as I want to call it, was actually made of materials that were very small in size. So you had actually just clay tiles on the roof. You probably had wooden lattices on your balconies. The wall of your house was actually protected by all this. So you actually never got the wall wet, or it never became hot, because you actually had this skin or jali or something in front. Now that jali is made of very small elements which are actually very cheap. So over the year, or from season to season, there'd be a few tiles that would break, maybe a few putties that would perhaps get damaged or rot. And that's all the family needed, was to replace a few things, and their house was perfectly okay for like several generations, because there were only very incremental costs that needed to be done. Now you're looking at this whole so-called, global, sort of jungle, where you're being conned. I mean, you're looking at these very fancy, expensive materials that are being shipped across the planet. You're getting these sort of very fancy, high-tech contractors who want to click it all in, mechanize the thing so that, it's sort of intelligent. The family can't even afford like one little motor if it stops working. So his lure is stuck there for 6 months waiting for some guy to come and fix it.
Yeah.
Now, to my mind, these are, perhaps, which is why the thinking's got to come in from within rather than just adapting it and tweaking costs,
It's a great forum to get people together, people in the industry, and it's even better when you talk about philosophies rather than products, because that's what would connect more to the audience and to people, and you achieve your objective of spreading the message.
Today's conference, I would say that we had right from the developers, who are the clients, to the architects, who are the designers who give birth to the design. There were contractors, suppliers, all bringing everybody to one level of understanding and one level of platform, which means technology, innovation, and then immediately looking at the way the country is being developed, skill, scale and speed. So I would rate that conference as skill, scale and speed.
Non-fire retardant or regular ACP towards fire retardant.
World of Fenestration created a platform for emerging technologies and engaging discussions on what's trending in the facade and fenestration industry. The summit opened avenues for providing solutions to challenges in sustainability and innovations to tackle complex problems.
Our systems for the UPVC window market are all come with co-extruded gaskets. Means all the profiles from Adelblast do have the seals included from the process, from the manufacturing process. So we want to guarantee and warranty the sealing of our systems to be very good until the end, until it is installed in your house or in the projects. We're sitting with our partners and we designed a new system range which we call monorail. So we designed this one-sash sliding system specially for the Asian market with a very good result and with a very good feedback from the market, which is more economical, because usually you only have to open 50% of your door of your window. You cannot open 100% in the slider. The last one I want to show you here, the last innovation we have brought. It's an innovation we were working on for about 10 to 15 years. From the idea up, now this product is in the market for quite 7 to 8 years now and very successful in Europe. This is a system where we took out the steel out of the UPVC profile. And we replaced this with a kind of fiber reinforcement, which is also implemented during the extrusion process. So we could we could be able to take out the last weak point of the system, which is the steel. Being the innovation leader in the market of UPVC profile systems, we are very happy with the market of India. So we made our step forward, and we invested in the last years heavily in India, especially supporting this Make in India campaign now. So we are bringing first-class European knowledge from the industry, from the UPVC profile section, and we are very happy to make this locally now in Gujarat, in Vadodara, and supply our material to the local market. And I see the market is accepting this very good. And we also have to meet international standards. Yeah? We are international, highly reputed company, so we have to meet the standards. We are supplying, we are doing a lot of export already, so we have to meet the international standards.
The technologies with us today, there are fantastic, amazing technology developments have happened which will allow you to further enhance the energy efficiency of the building. But my point is there is lots that needs to be done when you develop a concept of the building or a concept of the campus. It has to be microclimate responsive, and what exactly needs to be done to the building when it comes to arriving at daylight. When you want a good light, the energy efficiency also comes in picture, because with the good light, the heat also gets precipitated.
It has done a huge amount of justice by bringing together designers. In fact, in panel after panel, we had the architects, and design is where really the entire journey of a building starts. And then you had the people who are doing the actual execution and the project management, and you had the builders, and you had the rating consultants, and so on and so forth. So I think it has brought everybody together. I think it has done justice. From the point of view of the fenestration industry, I would say it's a success. The world of fenestration is definitely a success. The way the world of fenestration is changing our life is very visible for all of us. In the last decade and a half, maybe a couple of decades, glass buildings and fenestration all over the cityscapes are really transforming the way we live. They are changing our lives, they are changing our lifestyles.
Harmonizing aesthetics and design trends with energy-efficient building technologies for effective sustainability was also discussed at the World of Fenestration.
The trend in fenestration that we see happening is a lot of organic shapes, a lot of manufacturing advances that are going on, the discussion of how we can get sustainable gardens at an elevated plane. It's a very standard, typical hotel building, and on one side it's a hotel, on the other side it's apartment buildings. And the idea of fenestration is to form these waves. We're using curtain wall, aluminum curtain wall here, and the idea of just essentially creating a mass that is not only interesting and changes with light, but also provides the necessary shading. On top, you have a pool, and in the bottom, you have rooms that form a convention center.
I would only like to give a small presentation about noise reduction. Noise became a major disturbance since a couple of years. As far as the cities are becoming more crowded, cities are becoming more polluted in terms of traffic, people are feeling more disturbed. And when we look in a typical city like this, can be Mumbai, can be Delhi, can be Bangalore, can be any city, or can be even a village where the railway track is just passing by, where we have a huge outer noise. Here we have a small pyramid which only shows from which level of noise the peaceful starts, maybe even I write down scary level starts, on the point where it starts really hurting our eyes. Of course, yes, when we are there on an airport, when a plane takes off at more than 100 decibel, it's a kind of where you can't even take it. And even in a city, in a rush city, there we have a noise level, depends on the distance to the traffic, between, I would say, 75 to 85, maybe 90, but usually 85 decibel. As per the World Organization of Health, they are saying it should be less than 30 decibel to have minimum sleep disturbance, but on a practical level, I would say everything less than maybe 45 decibel will give you a wonderful sleep. We have made such noise-proof rooms where later on people are going in and feeling even scary because you can't hear anything. You hear only, what I always say, the blood in your ears. And then you wonder if this is the kind of environment what you would like to have. That's why it's important to redefine what I actually want. To explain it, a split AC, when a split AC is running, you have already around 50 decibel inside noise. When the ceiling fan is running, you have around 50 to 55 decibel noise. And when we are talking to our customer, if this noise level is okay for you, then we are designing the house accordingly with windows that we are going to achieve this kind of a noise level.
As I know, over the last couple of years, we could build up a lot of good relation with the entire Acetech team. I'm very happy in the way they are working, very professional. I'm also very happy that at times I was on the advisory board so that I could give my suggestions and my advices, which I have due to my long experience of the industry. And it has been taken, and today where the event was organized so well and came up so well, I'm happy that everything turned into a wonderful event we all had together.
When you look at it, it sounds so foolish. Depending on how much.
Through enlightening discussions, presentations and product displays, the conclave explored the bountiful opportunities available in the facade and fenestration industry, thus bringing the first edition of the World of Fenestration to a close.
Very relevant point.